Hello, Mario! Mario's The Picnic Table Assignment Briefing. Hello and welcome. In this briefing I'm going to take you through the picnic table assignment. Now, I want you to use your own ideas and creativity to create the various items in the assignment. So I'm not going to show you what I want. I want you to research what other people do and show me what you believe is the best for this situation. So I want you to do some research into the various items, consider a number of different ones, and then select the one that you think is going to do the best job. Now, I do have some examples from previous years of previous students, and I will go through them with you, but I won't make them available in any hard copy or digital form. They're just there for you to look at and review, because I want unique assignments from each student. So let's have a look at the assignment. So here it is here, and it follows the pretty much the standard situation that we're used to. It's due on Friday the 29th of September, which is the last day of the term before the midterm break. The learning outcomes, there's 3 outcomes for this course, and these are they. And in some respects, this assignment meets all of them. There's elements of understanding the design process, applying principles, standards and techniques of drawing, and using models to communicate outcomes of solutions. A big part of this assignment is communicating the outcome of your solution, communicating in a graphical, digital, and using print media. Now, this is worth 25% of your total mark, so there's quite a lot of time allocated to it. So it's a fair chunk of your course. So there is a lot of work in it. So the aim of the assessment is to first of all accurately measure and record dimensions of an existing object. So usually as engineers, civil or all forms of engineers, quite often we must take account of the existing situation, what the existing circumstances are. If we are building a road, we've got to go out and look at the existing roads and the existing land. If we are adding a piece or retrofitting something to a machine or adding to it, we've got to look out and see what's there beforehand. If we're adding some electrical work or things, we've got to look and see what's there. So we've always got to be measuring and recording dimensions of the existing situation on which we then base our design. So this is really important that we have good skills in recording information. There are many ways of doing this. We could be scanning things, getting someone else to measure it for us, like a surveyor or another person, or a person on the site, or something like, or a tradesman, or something like that. So we do need to be aware of what's involved in these skills and to do it accurately and clearly so that we know what we measured. So that's a big part. To identify and record the materials in construction. So yeah, we have to match the materials. So sometimes there could be quite a lot of danger in incorrectly matching materials, getting pipe sizes wrong, or having particular metals in contact with other ones that are can cause problems, or using the wrong type of wiring, or that type of thing. So we've got to identify and record the materials, and research and apply recognised drawing standards. Now, it's acknowledged that you have not had, or some of you, particularly in this course, have not had any formal training or formal programming of and training of drawing styles and skills in that. So you need to do a little bit of research to see what drawings are the most appropriate in this situation. So research and apply recognised drawing standards. What is expected? The people that are going to build this table have certain expectations that they need and information that they need. So you need to research and find out what sort of plans you need to draw, what is expected in the worksheet, what is in the workshop, and what is going to be on it. So to research and apply recognised drawing standards. Then we're going to create a set of drawings of an existing object to recognise standards suitable for the manufacture of the object. So you have to be able to build the object, in this case a picnic table, from your plans. So continually you will be saying, can we build it from these? Is there sufficient information? Is it clear what this object is from the plans? And this is all about the graphical information. So the objective is to measure this existing and document the existing object. Now the existing object is this picnic table, which is available on site outside of the classroom here, and there's quite a number of them. So look at it very carefully. There are a number of little bits and things on it that in their own seem quite simple, but we want you to reproduce exactly this table, not your impression of it or your interpretation of it, but exactly this table. That's what the client said. They want to build these, so they want to make an exact copy. So here's some detail around the client here, and the client is Charlotte Periand. Okay, so Charlotte has visited here, and she said she wants some copies of the tables. She wants us to accurately measure up one of the tables, produce a set of industry standard CAD dimension plans, including a plan view, standard elevations, and an isometric or 3D view. A materials cutting list. That's what I would call it, from my experiences as a surveyor. However, in the mechanical engineering, you might call that a BOM, a bill of materials. So be very clear as to what's required. This may require you to ask questions. Submit the questions by email or whatever means during classroom time. But if you're unsure, ask a question. A schedule of quantities. So what's the difference between a materials cutting list and a schedule of quantities? An itemized schedule of the approximate manufacturing cost per table, and a sales brochure for promotional purposes. Cost per table. Well, what that might include is all of the materials, plus some time to do the various bits and pieces that are involved in building it. Plus, there may well be some processes, like, for instance, galvanizing, that may be required. Okay, we also need to analyze why and how particular aspects of the construction work. The bolts, how are they in there. And why are those particular bolts used? What are those bolts? And what is their purpose? And a sales brochure. Charlotte is planning to sell the tables with a 15% markup on the cost of manufacture. A little bit of maths in there for you. She will also require an invoice for your work. Now this is for your work, drawing and reporting back to her. So this is your work, measuring up the table, drawing the plans, doing the research, and reporting back to her. In all likelihood, you will be doing this. You will record your hours in your course diary, and then you will set an hourly rate, and that will determine your costs. You may have some costs for like consumables like postage and printing and telephone calls and travel, that sort of thing. So that all needs to be included in your invoice so that you can get paid, which is very important, that you get paid for your work. So make sure that you get that all sorted. Now then, this all needs to be put together into one PDF document and emailed to her agent, me, Maurice O'Neill, with my email there, in a PDF document with under a covering letter before the date that's stated there. So, covering letter. So a lot of communication things there. So the measure up, some more detail there around that, a set of hand-drawn diagrams detailing all the measurements and details of the existing table. Should be done on a calculation sheet. Might include marked up photographs of the table. Notes on the types of materials, method of manufacture may be included. Possibly could include a link to a video if you were so inclined. Perhaps with you giving a bit of a commentary of the table so that the guys back in the workshop could get a good view of what it is they're building. Remember, communication is a big part of this assignment. So you might like to try new ways of communicating. Explore different ideas as to how you can get things done. Draw some CAD plans. So they should have plan views, elevations, and some form of isometric or 3D view. All materials should be identified. Reference to standards, where necessary, should be included in there. And copies of references to the relevant standard material. Plans should be suitable on a plan form with your company, so you can create your own company. A materials cutting list, so schedules and lists should be done in a digital spreadsheet format. Most of you probably have access to Excel, so you need to just investigate how these work. And let me tell you, if you're sitting in front of a spreadsheet with a calculator, calculating numbers and keying them into a spreadsheet, you're doing it wrong. Okay, the spreadsheet does the work. So if you're not familiar with Excel spreadsheets, ask for some help, and we can point out to you some simple things that you can do. Have a look online, do a bit of research, find out get some invoice templates which are available. See how it works. Talk to other students. Costs should be researched and supported with evidence where possible. I have provided some costs. They might be getting a little bit old there now in the Moodle site, but please don't everybody ring Easy Steel or Fletcher Steel with the same request, because it will just annoy them. So if someone is inclined to get some costs, or knows someone there, and it has some costs of materials. Please do it, nicely, and if you could forward the results to me, I'll happily post them on Moodle site so others can use them. But we don't want to upset people out in the real world there, who could potentially be our employers or who could potentially deal with us a little later on. We don't want to create a poor reputation at this early juncture. The sales brochure, I'm sure you've all seen sales brochures. Something that you might be on the table, a little thing that you can take away that tells you all about it. Usually an A4, perhaps folded a little bit and printed on both sides with all sorts of details about the table. If you're unsure about a brochure, by all means, go and ask. I say, ask the questions in class. I can respond to them in the Moodle site or one-to-one or whatever. Okay, an invoice. I think I've gone through that a bit, but this is for your time. It's not for the cost of building a picnic table. It's for your time doing your work where you've gone out, measured up the table, drawn the plans, and all of that sort of thing. A covering letter is a formal letter to your client detailing the important aspects of the project, listing the outputs and presenting your invoice for the work you have done, and perhaps suggesting that you're available for further work. Developing relationships with clients is an important part of business. If you don't have any clients, it's very difficult to make a living. And here's some photographs of the table that are out there and some little bits and pieces of detail that will need to be measured up and copied exactly. And here's the all-important marking schedule, which tells you how to get your marks. So you've got hand-drawn diagrams, various bits and pieces. You'll notice that these have got the weightings on them, so that's 1 mark. So what happens is each of these criteria are marked out of 10. In some cases, that's quite a simple 10 out of 10 or 0 out of 10, whether it's done or not. But in other cases, there's some sort of degree of marking. So each one of those is marked out of 10. So CAD plans are clear and correct. So if they're incredibly clear and correct, 10 out of 10. So that would give you 10 times, 1 times 3 marks. But if they're a little bit not quite so clear and a few little bits of overriding, you might get an 8 out of 10. That would be 2.4 and so on. So it's all marked such as that to come up with a final mark. So work to your marking schedule. It's tells you where. So obviously more work required in the 3s and less in the 2s and 1s. Like for instance, materials cutting list is clear and correct. The schedule of quantities is clear and correct, 1 mark. Schedule of costs, 1 mark. The schedules and tables are consistent and visually appealing, so that's over all 3 of them, so they should be consistent. The sales brochure, correct and fit for purpose. The invoice is clear, appropriate and fit for purpose, and so on, to give you your total of 25 marks. So that's a brief sort of rundown of that particular assignment, the picnic table assignment. As I said, I want it to be your work. I want you to do some research. I want you to think about it and try and own it yourself. It's an individual project. Each student's project should be different from the next. You may obviously work in conjunction with other students, but be very careful. Use different formats. Make sure that your stuff is different. Even your costs should be maybe, well, they can be the same if they're based on the same evidence, But if you're making stuff up, it's unlikely that you will all come to the same answer independently. So just make sure that everything's a little bit different and it's uniquely yours. Now this is a good opportunity for you to go into real detail on something, really go to town and get it all together as a project. Remember that as a business person, your whole reputation would be relying on these. If you were making them, it's quite a big commitment, and so you want to get it right, and you're looking for top-notch, neat and tidy sort of work. So good luck. Cheers. See you.